So in a technical sense, yeah, it is kind of pride, because there's nothing you could ever do. There's no reason the Most High God would ever need you for anything. But it's like when he does need and use it, it comes from a place of intimacy. And so that's why it's very important that we pay attention to where we're even abiding in this greenhouse, because maybe the moisture is a bit off, because I need to allow him to be the one to shift me into a more humble approach, but even how I'm responding to him. And so being well pleasing to the Lord is one thing, because you do want to be a good and faithful servant. But all of that comes from serving, not the pride of life where you're doing things and then you're seeing this trade-off. Like, I do this, I benefit from this. And we know that God doesn't approach things like this always, because I'm not trying to cause any confusion. What I'm trying to do is present it in the way that he's given it to me. And that's why in the book of Job, when Job, who was well pleasing, and he had all the things that were there, got it taken away, and people did not compute. They were like, oh, he must be cursed, or he must have cursed God. He must have this. He did that, because that is the pride of life with that. We're so conditioned that if I do this for God, then I'm this. If I do this, then I hear, well done, good and faithful servant. But you could be a well done, good and faithful servant if you are sitting in front of a rich man's gate with boils and hemorrhoids like Lazarus, right? So the key is not necessarily the works that you do, but the source of the works and how he's producing that through you in intimacy and collaboration. And so a way you can tell, a telltale way you can tell that you're not abiding in his presence, though you may be in the greenhouse, you're not actively searching him out to sit with him at his feet, to take him in. Maybe you're too busy going around the garden, like, oh, I got to plant this, got to do this. And it's like outside of like, right, the Mary and Martha correlation of like, well, just pay attention to what he is doing right now. Situate yourself, right? That's a key to that, because the same mindset we see from the prodigal's older brother is the same one that we can fall into, where you are working for the Lord, you're faithful, you're a good servant, you're a good son or daughter, but you didn't even know the nature of your God. You didn't know the nature of your father and how he responds to you. So now you could accidentally partner with lust of different disconnects and project that onto others, or project that onto the father. Like, you can actually look at God and see him as being unfair. Like, well, why did you do that for them, not me? Don't you see what I'm doing here? I've been doing this for so long, right? The prodigal's older brother, like, see that. It's not necessarily a bad thing as much as it is an assessment to check our hearts to see if I'm abiding in his presence or if I'm just existing in it, right? And so you are humbled when you realize God doesn't need you for anything, and that there's nothing you could perform or do that would ever come to a level of worthiness for you to even fear disappointment of the Lord, because you are not worthy. It's the Christ in you that made you worthy. And it's the relationship that has consumed you from the inside out that makes you want to say, Lord, send me, right? Use me. I'll go, Father, if you say go.